Yes, yes, yes. Welcome to Conscious Awesome, Season 2, first episode. Thank you for your patience, our conscious awesomers. I've been drinking a lot of water. I am your co-host, Justin Frank Polgar, Minister of Chocolate, and this bilocating creature and co-host, the one and only Dani Katz.
That's me!
I know that it seems like Dani is appearing and reappearing.
It's weird that I'm appearing and reappearing when after 2 years we're finally in the same time-space continuum.
We've met in the desert to begin again.
Indeed.
Hallelujah.
Did you miss us?
I did.
No, that wasn't the right question. The right question is, how much did you miss us?
Where are you feeling, sweetheart Comey? Where are you feeling the missing?
Where is the missing?
Mine has been here mostly. I'm like, oh, I miss the conscious awesome. It's not like we ever leave it. You and I, we're here. We don't leave. We don't leave the conscious awesome state. We're checked in.
It's an eternal unfolding inquiry.
In the Hotel California, but it's like the Hotel New Mexico right now. You know, Hotel California? You can check out. You can never
anytime
leave.
You like.
Yeah, but you can never leave.
Right.
Interesting. Is that Colitas in that song? Deep
lyrics.
Deep. That might be one of our shows this season. We might take on some songs that have deep lyrics.
Ooh, I like this.
Depending on the guests. Oh yeah, we're gonna have guests.
More guests.
There's a lot of things that we have in motion for you, for us, for the collective we, as in yes. This is the Conscious Awesome with both of us here.
Sometimes. Justin's definitely here. I'm dimensional shifting.
It could be while we were discussing this, because Dani just did a water fast. And I'm a little denser at the moment.
Right. This is just a reflection of my light body, qualities of my light body. We're so excited to be here with you. I'm so excited you're here.
Are you here?
Are you here?
We don't know. We're here. Dani's here, I promise.
This is going to be an interesting exercise in grounding.
Maybe if I just hold your shoulder the whole time, we'll anchor you in.
Okay, we'll try it.
Hello.
Hi, welcome to our show. We're back.
So we're going to kick off the season 2. First of all, yeah, we're here. We're here for you. We're here. All of the previous episodes are more accessible now than they've ever been. Bonus. And where are we going to have, where we can let people know where to be found.
Now, as of now, everything is on danikatz.locals.com, and all of our archives are still on our Odyssey channel, Conscious Awesome. And we have our own locals page, which is an ongoing negotiation. So you can touch in to our consciousawesome.locals.com, and we'll see how that goes.
I will say on the locals tip, because I'm finding more and more of the people that I like to absorb information from on Locals, which is a censorship-free platform and is very much participatory with the community. Like, hey, these are my locals. This is my community. I am their community. It feels way more intimate, and I was hesitant to go into it because I was like, oh, do I start a whole nother thing to pay attention to? And so far, the ease of use, the notifications don't feel like they're extra, which is beautiful. Mm-hmm. I really appreciate that. Very easy to navigate platform. So I'm stoked that we're on Locals. And
the bonus of joining our Locals community is that you as a community member can start your own conversations on our Locals page. So there's a lot of opportunity for cross-pollination and collaboration with our Conscious Awesome tribe. So, you know what, I'm going to commit to it for this first show of our second season. consciousawesome.locals.com. Let's see who we attract, who from the tribe's going to show up, and what sort of magic we create there.
Our episodes are, the topics of these episodes and all the episodes that we've done in the past, and then the ones that we're doing today and into the future, are deep inquiries into what is awesome about consciousness and what you can apply the awesomeness of consciousness to in your life, which is so deep in so many things. What did you just do? Did you
I just covered my mouth to burp and I completely disappeared. It's like a whole new level of etiquette. Now,
pardon me.
Excuse me while I just disappear from this dimension entirely. Oh, I'm back.
So the topics that we're talking about are deep, they're inviting ongoing. So, the episodes might be 30 minutes or 40 minutes or maybe an hour. And they're also going to be segmented now, which you're going to learn about. And we're going to do a first half, which is gratis, which is free and available for easy share and conversation. And then there'll be a second half, which is for VIPs, you being a VIP, because it's so easy to be a VIP by pushing this button.
Our VIPs are our paid locals supporters. And there you get bonus material, you get the second half of our shows, and all sorts of special offerings that will be trickling in, special promo codes for Yes Cacao, Q&As with Justin and Dani, just a deeper, more intimate engaging with us and the community.
And I know sometimes it feels like, okay, I'm going to hit the subscribe thing, and I got to fill out this form, and then even $1 a month gets you access, right? But sometimes it feels like $1 a month doesn't make it worth it to fill out the form. So if you want to do $5 or $10 a month, that's okay too.
Yes.
We're open. We're open to your
And the gods of karma are taking definite note of your offerings. So as you're inspired to offer $22 a month, the karmic gods are like, oh, let's just be mindful of sending a little more magic her way.
Indeed. And we'll set the tone and we'll learn. And the more energy that we put into the show, we as hosts, and the more energy that you put into the show as a listener, a viewer, and a participant, creating threads, adding to the conversation and responding to people, keeping the conversation alive, adding with your dollars, which we'll probably have an episode at some point this season about how dollars are held up by nothing but our belief. And so we might as well just believe in them for the things that are most important and valuable to us. And then as the currency shifts, because it's definitely going to shift, we can move and be fluid with it without trying to be in the holding. It's like, I'm not going to stand in the middle of the river and be like, stop being a current. No, we're going to go with our flow, and we would like you to come with us. So all that to say, thank you for participating.
Thank you. The more you participate, the more we're inspired to give back. It's definitely a give and take scenario.
It's also non-dual.
Those are his pronouns.
It's great how many people have asked me, I want to wear this out. Like, is that like you're against fighting? I'm like, sure. But, there's a conversation that happens, but that's a different dual. That's D-U-E-L. That's dual. Non-dual, dual being two, non-dual, non-binary oneness.
But it's a binary statement in the non-dualness.
It's total koan.
Right.
It's really just so we can have a conversation about it. Notice the two slashies.
Yeah, it's the two slashies that have me thinking that they're your pronouns.
It's actually the tunnel. It's the gateway. There's so much going on here. Like here, this is what we do in Conscious Awesome. We're living our lives, right? And I'm sure you can vibe with this. You're living your life, and you're living multi-dimensional lives at the same time, which actually happens to be the topic of our first show in the second season, which is...
Wait, hang on. Let's have our mascot.
Our toad thing.
Okay, this is like our drum roll. What is today's topic, Justin?
Waking up into the best possible timeline. We're going to say the best possible timeline.
Woo! I love this topic. I'm so glad that you brought this topic to us.
You actually shared it with me originally.
Really?
Yeah, from that Instagram post.
Oh, from Gars.
Yeah.
So just to clue you guys in, for the past, it's been a few months now, right?
I was in December. We're in April now.
Gars Chan, if you're not yet following her on Instagram, do follow her because she's a super magical, awesome being. And she recommended for going to sleep at night to say, I choose to wake up in the best possible timeline. Now, just full transparency, I've edited where I say, I'm so excited to wake up in the best possible timeline.
I also edited. I said, I'm waking up in the best possible timeline.
So definitive, all that conviction.
Well, I didn't, I'm going to sleep, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also I'm waking up in the best possible timeline. Whether I'm sleeping or not sleeping, whether I'm about to go to bed, all that, I am waking up in the best possible timeline, which also gives me permission to say it at any point in the day.
Okay, question number 1. What shifts have you noticed since integrating this practice?
Thank you for putting me on the spot.
You're welcome.
The practice was invited for 33 days.
Correct.
Right?
Did you cap it there?
No, I just keep going because it feels good.
Same.
And it's working. So what does that mean it's working? So first thing that I notice is the first night or the first morning, actually I think it was really early morning, maybe even like 3 o'clock in the morning, where I woke up and I was like, oh shit, it didn't say it, right? Or is that like, oh no, I missed it and I'm committed to this thing.
I ruined it, I have to start again.
And my memory, because thankfully it had been like maybe 8 or 9 days already that I'd done in a row. I was like, wait, in the best possible timeline, am I allowed to do this? Am I allowed? That's probably when I switched it from into the I am waking up in the best possible timeline.
Mm-hmm.
So my first remembering, at least the first thing that it's coming to now, is the permission that in the creation of the best possible timeline, I'm in permission. Like, what's the
so that
shift
defines your best possible timeline? Permission.
That's a big piece of it.
Okay.
There's a big piece of it. Permission, and there's no fucking up. But there's no wrong. There's no wronging.
I like that you gerunded it. You reverse gerunded it.
You're the gerund
No
activist.
wronging.
I wanted to. I don't want to be on my best gerund behavior.
So I realized that verbing nouns is actually degerunding. It's like reverse gerunding.
You're an anti-gerundist?
I'm calling it degerunding.
You're a degenerate. You're a degerundist.
I'm a degenerate degerender.
Okay, we gotta get a new shirt then. I got Dani a shirt that said gerund activist.
Right.
It's a cool one, right? The fonts, it's like a nice shirt.
I feel like it still applies though, since I'm a degerender. Like as a gerund activist, I can maneuver gerunds how I choose, as I do.
Sure.
Right.
Way to be gone. Okay,
so back to no wronging. I love how you exist the whole time though.
Did you anchor before? Did you anchor into the?
I did my grounding this morning, but not before you gave me the gummy.
Nutraceutical.
Okay.
So.
But I'm wearing shungite.
And you're grounded.
I'm
You're just grounded in multiple
grounded.
dimensions.
Totally.
Totally permission slip.
Thank you.
What about for you? What was your first inkling of like, oh wow, this is working for the best possible timeline practice?
Well, one thing that I noticed in terms of my psycho-emotional state was around the same time that I chose to declare that I was waking up in the best possible timeline, is I also started playing with the idea with what if nothing is wrong? Because it historically throughout the day, I'm doing things and like I disappear. Historically throughout the day, I'm doing things and it's like, it's not good enough. It's not fast enough. It's not whatever enough. That has been a take. And as I started doing this best possible timeline, what's come in more and more is what if everything's perfect? What if this is exactly how it's supposed to be? And I noticed just taking that piece off of everything again, speaking about permission, it's just like, well, it doesn't matter how it expresses, or if I miss a deadline or whatever, it's like, this is all exactly how it's supposed to be in the best possible timeline.
There's a committing. Like there was not a going back. Once I chose to be in the best possible timeline, it's kind of a circular logic thing that is helpful. Usually circular logic is like you're using circular logic is not a good thing, but it can be a very helpful tool to almost to create a boundary within a system.
Mm-hmm.
Where I'm like, okay, now that I'm choosing to do this, everything that's happening within this here now in this new timeline, which is the best possible one, must be part of this process. It's an invitation to like a faith practice,
mm-hmm.
or like a deeper capital T trust process, where now it's a reminder. Because when we create these constructs in our mind to help us kind of get on the tracks of awareness and the tracks of consciousness and being awesome, there's a guarantee that you're going to come off of the tracks as you're learning.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're just going to do that. So it's almost like when I was in high school and I started the Spirit Club, and I wrote into the contract, like, this is our charter and our constitution, that if you were associated with the high school, with Fremont High School, if you're a student or a teacher or an advisor or an alumni or parent or sibling of someone that is in attendance or related to Fremont High School, you are automatically a member. And so we became the biggest club ever.
Okay.
So that's it. Just that is a way that you can manipulate the 3D to be in your favor. And then all of a sudden, is it cheating? No. Is it bending the rules? Yes. That's a good thing to play with.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
I also feel it's important to note that you went to Fremont High School.
Fremont. No, Fremont. I go Freeman.
I'm having some interesting Freeman synchronicities come up, but I went to Montclair. We both have the Mont. I went to Montclair Prep High School. You went to Fremont.
Mont is a mountain, no?
Mm-hmm. Although I wonder what else it means. Like, we know it as mountain, but I mean, we're not in the setup to do the etymology search as we will be in our future shows.
The more computers.
I am curious.
We could do a phone. This is good. We're just gonna. I empower you to put into the chat.
Yeah, let us know what Mont means.
Let's learn together.
But I am curious. So let's expand the timeline conversation, because one thing that I find interesting, especially that we're bringing it up now, are you still tracking Phil Good?
Yes.
So Phil Good's new thing that he just came out with this week is you're always in the best possible timeline. And you can't not be on the best possible timeline. I mean, if someone's choosing the enslavement timeline, right? It doesn't even have to be like that one, but if someone's like the suffering timeline or whatever, who's to say that's not their best possible timeline for their soul's journey? In fact, it must be, right? If that's how it's happening.
It is a must be. I think that there's a participatory engagement in the dimension, in the timeline, which I kind of interchangeably, no. Timelines are nested within dimensions.
Mm-hmm.
They can be in different dimensions. Timelines are not just within one dimension. Over multiple timelines are within a dimension, for how I understand it and create the construct within my understanding.
Okay.
So I think it is possible for people to experience it not being a perfect timeline, but their experience is not in the Tao of the true kind of overarching dimensional unification of timelines. Do you know what I mean?
Do you feel like you're on the same timeline all throughout the day, or do you feel yourself jumping timelines or taking timeline pivots throughout the day?
I know that there's different vibes. Like if I'm at home and playing with my children, that's a different orientation than being in the chocolate factory.
Mhm.
There's a different agenda there. Both of them are projects that I'm nurturing. I think those are actually in different timelines.
When you're with your children, are you more attuned to their timelines?
It's a both and. It depends on the time of the day.
Mm-hmm.
If I give, it's within boundary. So if I just surrender to their timeline,
Mm-hmm.
then that's not good. That's like I'm not sleeping. It's like there's an out of balance because as the right use of will would share with us,
Mm-hmm.
everyone being in their own Tao, in their right use of will, it makes it so that there's a collective paradise.
Mm-hmm.
So I am modeling what my paradise looks like and my right use of will, and then showing and teaching what theirs.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm in my timeline and they're in my timeline.
Mm-hmm.
That's more so the case.
I know when I'm teaching my homeschoolers, I'm completely in their timeline. And I'm teaching as far out into their timeline as I can see or go.
How old are your children?
They're 13 to 16. But I'm definitely teaching into their best possible timelines and what they need, like what resources they need to enact them. And I'm going as far out as I can into their timelines. It's really interesting. And then I come back from class and I'm like, oh, wait, okay, what do I need to go with in mine?
And there's a container there, right? There's how long is the class?
It's an hour. It's such a, contrived. It's such a very specific container. But I'm also teaching into their best possible timeline, and I always speak from that. So it's like I'll speak to how much peace and abundance is in the world and how they have already created that.
Thanks. I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful. I also like to do such things. In there's like certain parenting hacks too, where we're speaking into existence the attitude, the creation, the skills, the shifts that the child is bound to do.
Right.
And just encouraging that. And then also just being in amazement when it does happen.
Right.
Because then it's like,
great job, Dad. Well, I think in terms of best possible timelines, the biggest X factor is how are we defining best?
My first word that comes to mind is harmonious. Where I just default to nature. Nature has a timeline. Nature has a certain orientation. It's like there's a Tao of nature. It's flowing. It's been doing it for a long time. It has a regeneration frequency. It has a death frequency. It has an illusion of death. Did I tell you that I've changed and I call it the change called death? I don't say death. I say the change called death.
Use it in a sentence.
I heard that so-and-so's uncle just experienced the change called death.
What are the responses that you're getting from that?
That mostly. Some people would just go along with the flow.
Or I like that.
It feels really way more in harmony within nature's laws, right? Because something dies and then becomes something else, and then it's just a change that we call death. The language.
Okay, I'm so happy that you're sharing this because I've noticed so much power recently in just this slight languaging shift to right now I'm working with a lot of people who are diagnosed with cancer, and it's like what doctors are calling cancer, that distancing, right? It allows us to communicate death or cancer, but then we take a few steps away from it of the change called or what your doctors like to call, like just that tiny shift in things that we're not feeling aligned with languaging or signing on to. Do you know what I'm talking? I mean, obviously, you know what I'm
Catch
talking.
the assumptions.
Right. And
then, yeah,
it's a pattern interrupt because it's like, I'm not signing on to this. We're learning it. As soon as we master it, you're going to go back to California.
Right. Well, now I got to figure out how to do the thing. I'll figure it out. In my best possible timeline, I did the thing. It's great.
What's the thing?
The background thing.
Oh, I can teach you.
I summoned a teacher like that. So I think the best possible timeline for me, the best possible timeline is also a feeling. There's like a resonance, like you know when you're in flow. Also, the mindset shift. So like that was the first example was like in the first week and a half or so. After like 3 or 4 weeks of doing, I'm waking up in the best possible timeline. It didn't matter what was happening out in the world. It didn't matter what was happening in my experience because this is exactly what needs to happen for me to get to where I'm supposed to go in accordance with my purpose and my surrendering to my station in the oneness adventure.
Okay, one thing well, you know what? I'm going to save this for I'm going to save my personal experience of this for our second half.
Okay.
Well, and one thing I'm noticing in terms of my best possible timeline right now is that it involves a lot of slipping through the cracks because it seems like consensus reality is choosing, like I see the masses choosing a timeline that I'm like, timeline that you guys seem to be vying for. So a big part of my current best possible timeline involves a lot of magic and a lot of grace in terms of just like what is happening now, where like I'm moving interdimensionally instead of being quite so bound to the material reality that I'm seeing the majority of people choosing.
You may not see what's happening, but it's definitely there.
Or is it?
No, it's definitely here. There's so many analogies. We're just living in a giant analogy. It's a koan analogy.
Well, do you agree with Feel Good in terms of we can't not be in our best possible timeline?
I can't not be. I can't not be. I am committed. I'm a committed person, and that committed personness is in the perfection flow. And you know, sometimes the people that I'm in communication with are choosing otherwise.
Right.
And so
and
I'm holding that frequency.
Because you're sharing timelines with, like, at least in that moment, you're sharing a time space dimension.
So can I be cool with them not thinking that and being like, oh, that's just part of the perfection, that they are not thinking that this is perfect. I know it's perfect. That's all that needs to happen.
I am realizing that since taking on this practice, that I am way more surrendered to how other people are choosing to do reality. And I'm not
like,
okay, you want to wear a mask to ballet? Like, cool, that's great. Nice to see you.
I wish I was a little bit, I mean, I'm inviting more and more softness in that.
I have this conversation, I think when I'm closer to you, it's okay. With a friend of mine who's in Florida. And he's a little bit more aggressive towards people who are choosing to cover their face. And I realized, I'm like, because you're living in a conservative state, because I'm living in a liberal city in what is, who knows what the state is. I don't think it's what they say it is. But Santa Fe is definitely liberal. I feel like this is great for my growth and development, that it's on me to be like loving and accepting 100% of the time, because I feel like I'm the target in this demographic. Do you know what I'm saying?
How do you mean you're the target?
I feel like when I walk into ballet and I'm the only one who's not covering her face.
You're the only one breathing freely?
Literally the only one. I feel like, and I could be making this up, like I completely own, but I feel like they're like looking for a reason to have an issue with me. Or anytime I walk into a place where there's like that kind of masked energy. So I've made it a practice to be as loving, as tolerant, as accepting as possible, so that I'm not giving anyone anything to be triggered by or any reason to jump on me. And I feel like that is specifically because I am living in a more liberal state where I don't feel like I have that luxury the way my friend in Florida does to like be more aggro with people who are making different choices.
Which would maybe be more close to your natural state.
Aggro?
Well, yeah. I mean, you know, in specific things, if you were going to just be in your Aries, like, you know, maybe bite someone.
Yeah. So I think in that sense, it's been good for me. And also, but noticing since choosing that I'm in the best possible timeline, like I'm not going to give my telomere length. Is it telomere or telomere?
Yeah, telomere has such a nice foreign ring to it.
But I'm not going to surrender that to something quite so insignificant.
In the scheme of things, there's a lot of giving my power away early on in that dynamic.
It was a learning for everyone. It was like an intense learning curve.
Yeah, it's interesting because when you say I want to be in my best behavior, basically I want to be in my most loving self. That's similar to at least the reason that I was told when I was growing up, like a Jewish person wears a kippah. You know, like if you wear a physical descriptor of your tribe, then you are the representation of that. If it's the first time someone is meeting someone of your tribe, first impression, you know, it's like, so it's the first time that someone is seeing, or any whatever. It's not going to be the first time someone with a mask is talking to someone without a mask, because most of their lives, for most everyone, have not been wearing them.
But I wonder if that's going to be a weird mandala effect where that's going to shift all of a sudden. They're going to like flip a switch, and then like half the population is going to think that we were wearing masks our whole lives.
Oh, that sounds way too true.
I didn't even think about it until it just came out of my mouth, and I'm like, I think they're going to do that.
Okay. You know, let's just be aware of. I mean, I am aware of the waves, the programming waves that are flowing through all over. I was driving through San Francisco the other day, and there was a sign on the side of a CVS that was like, you know, get today. You know,
Get circumcised?
no. Might as well have been. It could have been anything.
Get your ears pierced.
The way that the font and the positioning, but there was some other thing happening there. There was some wave because I felt it. I turned my head, I read it, and I thought, yeah, I could just go do that today. My wife wouldn't be that upset. And I was like, so glad I'm paying attention and aware of my being.
Was there some sort of like geometry or graphic or color combination?
I mean, I feel like I've seen those signs 1,000 times. That one was so, maybe it's because it was in San Francisco. Maybe there was just a different grid going on there.
Yeah, I wonder if that's a 5G. Like, is there a digital component to that?
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. I think that there's a frequency that's being emitted there.
Do you think that frequency?
Is that part of the best possible timeline?
I mean, it could be if just having your awareness on it, like, inspires you to like hack it and liberate all of humanity. That's a pretty good timeline.
That's an amazing timeline.
Right?
I mean, for me, it's beautiful as a reminder of my resolve to be a free human being.
Yeah.
So it's an exercise in a shallow way, it's an exercise in justification. But as we have more depth and meaning to that justification, it's actually more of a training awareness to recognize where things seem like they're not in the best possible timeline, something that's not going your way, something that's challenged, you know, a nail in your tire, clear counsel belief, but you know what I mean? Something happens.
But that nail in your tire might have prevented you from getting into the horrible accident that you would have gotten into if you hadn't been stopped.
Or the amazing human being that you connect with when you're getting it fixed. There's endless beautiful things that come through and fruit through things that initially seem, or we've been culturally programmed to think, are good and bad. So that's what we're doing. We're actually hacking the non-duality. We're hacking the paradigm of there's a right way and a wrong way. There's a good way, there's a bad way, and making it all within the perfection of this is the best possible timeline.
Right. So then anything that happens, we can embrace and completely trust in and surrender to. It still does, for me, beg the question of how we're defining best, just in terms of all of us getting clear on what that means for us. You know, because best is one of those throwaway words. It's like, well, what is it actually? Because your best isn't going to be the same as my best, as Joe Schmo's best, as Diallo's best, as Randall's best. Like, they're all going to be different. And then that entails us getting really clear on like what we prioritize and what our purpose is. Like, because when I'm thinking, well, sorry, go ahead.
I don't see a conflict in it, because I think your best is calculated for you.
Yeah.
My best is calculated for me. So it's almost it's a placeholder word where it's almost, it's the best possible timeline is also the unquestionably aligned timeline, or some other. I mean, the word best is a little bit tricky because it's subjective only.
Mm-hmm.
There's no objective, there's no home for inobjectivity for the word best.
Right, like I think there was a moment when I disappeared.
I just saw that. I saw you disappear.
But like, I think a year or two ago, a lot of us were feeling into best possible timeline for humanity, like around the election. And we don't have to get into any specifics because let's keep our audience really broad. And there were thoughts about like best for humanity. And then I think because of the way certain things went, then all of a sudden the conversation shifted, just the way Gar's shifted to like, what's my best possible timeline? Because it seems like the masses have chosen. I don't want to make it an us them.
I don't even think the masses have chosen. I think that there's a shift. We'll just say there's a shift that happened, which I think is part of the perfection, is a shift to taking responsibility. No one else is going to live my best possible timeline for me. I do it. It's actually a favor to everyone else around me.
Well, I'm just checking actually now's a really good time for us to move into the second half.
Okay.
Join us in the second half. Tell us about what you have to offer. Before we jump into the second half, since we have Justin, Frank, Polgar here in person, what kind of magic are you offering our tribe?
In the form of chocolate? Yes. 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 For those of you who know, and for those of you who don't yet know, but are about to know, because I'm going to say it and then you're going to know, at least
your mind's going to go.
Mine does regularly. I'm the creator of Yes Cacao. I've been anchored in for now 12 years since I first started playing with chocolate. I make botanical chocolate bars, meaning that we use chocolate as a delivery system. We have these chocolate bars. It's wild harvested cacao from Ecuador, beyond organic. I say beyond organic, I mean nature's the farmer. No, nothing added to it, just nature. Super clean. Clean AF. We even have clean AF on the package. We would like that. We take wild harvested cacao. Cacao opens your blood vessels. We put the herbs, teas, flowers, and botanicals into the chocolate. So now you have this functional chocolate, and we make it taste so good. So good. Like, wow.
Beyond.
And, I want to say best, but we were just talking about that.
I'll say best.
I'm going to say
it's the best.
The tail of flavor will go as long as you want it to go, which is a beautiful way of participating with your chocolate. Also, make a wish and take a bite. This is the offering that I have in this particular part of my life for the last 12 years. And for the foreseeable future, I'll be sharing this chocolate, and it just gets better and better because that's part of the pattern that's what we do.
Where can folks find your chocolate?
You can find it at yescacao.com. YES. That's not the sign language. YES. And then CACAO, like cacao, like the bean.com. Thanks for being here. Like
.com. We're creating our whole new sign language.
It's esoteric sign language. Yeah, so go to our website, Yes Cacao. You can follow us on Instagram at yescacao.com. And for our listeners of the Conscious Awesome podcast, that's you.
For you.
We have a 20% off coupon, a discount code. You also get 20% off when you sign up for our newsletter. So first purchase, you get 20% off. Then you can use your Conscious Awesome 20% off. And just pretty much always get 20% off your cacao.
That's so generous of you.
I mean, sharing is caring. Caring is cool.
You know, most people, when they're doing like a discount code on these things, you get 10% off. Justin, Frank, Polgar doubles that, 20% off.
I have a special thing with the number 20 also. Being born on
Birthday.
20.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. So find Justin at Yes Cacao. Find me, DaniKatz.com. Join my locals, DaniKatz.locals.com. Find us for the second half, which you totally want to tune in on, consciousawesome.locals.com. We'll see you there.
Yes.